I don't know if we're gonna kill this guy. I don't know if we're gonna kill this guy. What? Sorry, what? Okay. What's he called? Oh, Tarek Hurry. Oh my. Ah! Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video, we're going to be diving into Layer 8 of Scaldus Hall. This is the highest difficulty level for Torghast that's in the game right now, just straight up in the beta, and should be also on Shadowlands release. This is as hard as it gets. So what we want to see in this video is, well, exactly how hard is that? Again, if you missed the video I did yesterday, that was looking at a Layer 6 run, and we're going in with this pre-made character that Blizzard gave us. So they gave us this template character. We can make template characters on the beta, 180 item level, okay? All automatically put into the Venthyr Covenant, and also, you know, we've no legendary item. We're renowned level 9, so we've got a few little perks in our soulbind trees, but not too much. And they said that that character is designed for doing layers 4, 5, or 6. Okay, and they also gave us a weaker template for doing layers 1, 2, and 3. So obviously I did layer 6 in the last video, and I said, hey, let's go check out layer 7, which you did on stream, and probably was part of the intro to this video, because we had some hilarious bugs right there in layer 7. But then I said we'd do layer 8. Okay, max difficulty. How hard is it with this character that was designed for layers 4, 5, 6? How hard is it? And also to put it in perspective, guys, and you can see just how much damage we took from those enemies. Getting pretty sketchy already on the first pull. You can get item level 183 gear from doing Mythic 0 dungeons. So, of course, this is the Mythic difficulty level of dungeons. You can do this once per week. There's 8 dungeons. So, yeah, in week 1 of Shadowlands, you can do each of those 8 dungeons on Mythic difficulty and potentially get some gear, 183 item level, which should bring you close to where I am on this character at 180. And again, I've no legendary, so within, you know, the first 2 weeks, you should have a legendary, which is a big power boost. So yeah, I think that this character is, roughly speaking, probably as geared as for the max. If you're very lucky, I think you could get as geared as this character week 1 of Shadowlands. And I think certainly in week 2 that, you know, any reasonably, you know, serious player, reasonably hardcore player should have a character that is definitely as powerful as this. So that's sort of the time frame, or that's sort of the region of things that we're looking at. I wanted to show you this, right, to put this a bit in perspective. I compared the numbers for some of the hit points for some of these enemies on layer 6, so difficulty 6 we did in the last video, difficulty 7, layer 7, and layer 8. So for example, on floor 1 here, on this first floor, because obviously enemies get stronger as you go through your Torghast run, because you're going to be getting powers. In this run, let me actually make this a little bit smaller so we can see some of what's happening in the background here. Let me move this up here. I'll read it out for people on mobile, so you don't need to worry. But on layer 6, on difficulty 6 in floor 1, the Maw Rats had 3,000 hit points. We knocked it up to layer 7, they had 3.5k. In this run, as you can see in the background, these Maw Rats have 4,000 hit points. So compared to the layer 6 run, which is the last video I did, enemies here on floor 1 have about 33% more HP than they did there. Pretty interesting. When we go to floor 5, which is the last floor with normal enemies on it, the Maw Rats on layer 6 difficulty, so difficulty 6, had 4.5k hit points. Here in this run, you're going to see they're going to have 6k, so again, 33% more. And it's the same for other enemies. So for example, the Moss-Worn Guard on difficulty 6, layer 6, started with 20.5k hit points. Here for this run, as you probably see if we fight any, they had 27.2k. Whereas they finished on our layer 6 run at 30.7, they're finishing here at 40.8. And the final boss on layer 6 had 442k. When we fight him here in this one, he's going to have 588k. So again, they have about 1/3 more hit points, which is going to make them, you know, a lot more powerful. Moving into floor 2 then of Scaldus Hall here on max difficulty. I would definitely say initial impressions, yeah, floor 1, it was certainly pretty tricky. I think there's no way around that. Those enemies, they do a lot of damage, and without you know, you just don't have many anima powers at all on floor 1, and things are definitely tricky. You can see here on floor 2, we're coming in, we got an elite in the center of this room, and he's surrounded by a bunch of normal enemies. They're sort of kneeling down, you know, they're talking about, I don't know, someone dropped their glasses on the ground. Everyone's trying to help him pick him up. They're nice people. We're going to try to attempt to fight these guys and see how it does. We're just waiting for our cooldowns to come back. And yeah, we'll take a look at how that fight goes. All right, now having cleared off one of these side areas, got a little bit of loot. We're about to pull this back here. Just thinking about what to do. We're going to drop our Shadow Crash in on top of them, start multi-dotting a little bit. And this is where things get definitely pretty scary, definitely pretty sketchy. This is the issue that I had, certainly as a solo player here, is that we don't have a lot of damage to burst these ads down. We're certainly doing our best here as the Shadow Priest. But this gets pretty dangerous. It gets pretty nasty, and there's no real way around it. One of the big things is that these enemies have quite a lot of casts, and these casts can be really dangerous. And they can do things like this, right, where we can get stuck in a situation where they have these shackle casts, which really slow you down. And because for whatever reason I talented out of my movement speed talent, as a Shadow Priest I simply have 0 movement speed, which makes it hard to actually get out of the way. But yeah, as a solo player, you can definitely find these packs that have very, very dangerous casts, multiple dangerous casts perhaps, that you need to interrupt, that you need to control. And as one player, you simply can't do it. It's very reminiscent to me of doing the Mage Quarter in Stormwind as a... yeah, you can see, for example, I didn't have the movement speed to get out of that circle there, and we're going to get wrecked. Absolutely wrecked, and pay the price for it. So we are going to get taken down and have our first death. Yeah, I think taking Sand Lane right there, I was kind of like, wait, why didn't I get healed by Dispersion? I meant to take the talent that made Dispersion heal. I actually think just sticking with Body and Soul for movements would be better. But yeah, it reminded me of the Mage Quarter in Stormwind. If you guys remember doing that in Horrific Visions as a caster, and you're fighting these enemies that have these spells that you absolutely must kick, they do horrible things to you, you simply don't have enough kicks to cover it. You don't have enough to cover it. And I'm saying this, you know, as a Shadow Priest, which actually has quite damn good crowd control, I would say. I would say for all the specs in the game, we are one of the better ones, right? So I have a single target stun in Psychic Horror. That's this spell over here. I'll move this out of the way. There we go. I've got, you know, a single target silence, admittedly a long 45-second cooldown. That's our kick. And then I have an AoE fear and a 1-minute CD. We also do have mind control, which you can spam. But I would say that's quite a lot of, that's decent CC. That's pretty good. You know, that's more than a lot of specs have, or it's certainly comparable to what a lot of specs have. Oh, we also have Shackle Undead, which is absolutely clutch against some enemies in here, which are undead, some elite enemies, so you can actually separate them from their pack. But yeah, for quite a bit of CC, I found that you're still lacking on crowd control, and you can still have a really, really hard time. All right, so having actually managed to take down that previous pack, you can see that these rooms are full of these elite packs. I said I'd give it one more go on this this pack here. To our right, a bunch of Moss-worn guards and a Death Speaker. So this is where things get really spooky. So these guards, again, they're the guys that you're fighting all the time that have... They've got a lot of health, right? But they also have these super dangerous casts. I actually have a power, by the way, that makes maw rats explode when they die. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get these maw rats in here and hopefully make them explode. But yeah, this Death Speaker, he's got some casts that needs to be interrupted. But you can see those guards, they do the Accursed Strength cast where they buff their damage massively. And then they start doing these massive strikes. You see, I actually got hit by one there because I wasn't paying proper attention. And we're already in serious trouble. Yeah, these massive strikes, big wind up. If that hits you... certainly if they're empowered, it will absolutely one-shot you on difficulty level 8. But yeah, just the requirement to move around here becomes really bad. Bind the Fallen is terrible. This summons in an enemy with like 8,000 hit points, which is just not something I can afford to do. But yeah, you can see the Death Speaker, he's just chain casting these spells. These guards are running all over me, locking me down. We've killed a couple of them. We did okay, but yeah, actually finishing these guys off, getting, you know, destroying this mob pack, this isn't something that you can do with this gear on layer 8. As you can see, it's simply not possible. Yeah, you'd have to get very lucky, have things go very much in your way, I think, to pull it off. There's even other mob packs which have... They have even worse things. Like that mob pack, it just has a bunch of really dangerous spells that will kill you. But other mob packs, you can easily run into enemies that will... elite enemies that will just keep yoinking you. Like they'll keep pulling you, interrupting your casts and dragging you, basically stunning you for a second or two. That's lethal. The worst pack I ran into was actually back on layer 7. I ran into 2 Tower Sentinels, right? 2 Tower Sentinels, and what these guys do, what tower sentinels do is they have this haste slowing aura, right? They slow your haste and they slow your move speed, and that stacks up to like 30%. If you have two of those guys together, the auras also stack. You can have like 60% reduced haste, 60% reduced movement speed, and they're elite enemies. They hit very hard. Almost impossible to do. I was actually able to beat the pack due to being a priest, and because those enemies were undead, I was able to shackle undead one of them, kill the other one, and then go fight the second one afterwards. And that was the only way I could do it. I just don't see how other specs that don't have that utility would be able to do it. I think you would just literally die, which is obviously suboptimal. But yeah, this is one of the big lessons for me here. As you can see, sort of making my way around these elites and actually using things like Mind Soothe to try to reduce the threat range on these enemies. It's a new returning priest spell here. So Mind Soothe, so I can just slip on by. But yeah, on layer 8, I found that instead of just killing all the enemies like I was doing on the previous runs, that this instead became a case of avoiding as many elites as possible and just getting through the floors, in as easy as quick a way as I could, and just trying to avoid those bigger fights, because it's just not all that doable. It's not worth the risk of your deaths. You can see I have only 2 deaths remaining on this particular run right now. We died 2 more times, and the run is basically over. So that's obviously not good. We still have the final boss to fight. We're only on floor 2 out of 6, for goodness sake. So yeah, it's pretty tricky. And it's a very different feel then, compared to the lower layers, where it's really, I'm just blasting through, killing everything, having a great time. It's kind of just a more action role-playing. It's kind of like a Diablo feeling game almost, just absolutely murdering everything and looting everything. Compared to this, where I felt more like a stealth game, right? Where I'm going, oh, look at that pack in the middle. That's a whole bunch of normal mobs with this massive crusher dude with 96k hit points back there. You see that guy? Oh, of course I moved my camera in-game just as I'm pointing it out. There's no way in hell I'm fighting that pack. That pack has to be avoided. We need to sneak around. So yeah, it's intriguing. It's a very different feeling. Coming here to the end of this floor 4 run, we got a couple of nice powers. That was one of them, where we get an extra 10 of these soul fragments. And what those do is they give you an extra 10% primary stat per stack. So that's essentially 10% extra intellect. I mentioned this in my last video. This became even more important. I think this is the way to go with how to build your powers. The best way to go. So I think primary stat is really, really the way to go. Makes you extremely strong, especially for a class, a spec like Shadow Priest, where not only does primary stat as intellect increase my damage, but with the Shadow Priest, intellect is also going to increase the amount of healing I can do with just a straight up heal spell like Shadow Mend, but also Vampiric Embrace is healing me for some of the damage I do. My dots, Vampiric Touch and Devouring Plague, are also healing me for some of the damage I do. Or Mind Games, which I have as well, is going to make that even more powerful. Again, you can see one of my favorite powers there, and this is really going to help us out moving into the end of this run, the Horrific Dictionary for every word spell I cast. So Shadow, Word Pain, Shadow, Word Death, etc. We've got 4 different ones on the Shadow Priest. So 4 stacks of that's 20% intellect off of that power. I think it's extremely good, and that's really going to help us out here as we move into the end. Because as you can see from the hit points, compared to the hit points at the start, enemies get a lot more powerful over your Torghast run, so you need to be increasing your power as well in order to take them down. That was something we found on stream when we were playing layer 7 on stream, was that on one of the runs, I think we got really bad powers. Like, we were just not getting anything good. And as we were going up on the higher floors, the run was actually just getting more and more difficult because we just simply did not have the damage to actually fight stuff. It was just too awkward, right? Our damage was falling off compared to the health scaling of the enemies. Whereas in a run where you get really good powers, if you get really good powers, you're going to find that actually you start killing enemies a lot faster. If you look back on our layer 6 run, you could see that we got like an amazing build in our layer 6 run, where by the end of the run, we were literally one-shotting everything with Shadow Word Death. It was that strong. We were just running around, just popping everything left, right, and center, and there was really no danger left at that point at all. And that is certainly something to consider, I think, coming into layer 8 in week 1. This thing it's pretty difficult, right? And it can take quite a while, and you're reliant on getting good powers. I certainly think that for week 1, if you are able to play with friends and your friends are good, I definitely think that doing this in a group would probably be a good idea, right? It would probably be a good idea, because then with a group, you don't have to worry about having enough crowd control to stop these important spells. You can absolutely do that. You don't have to worry about having to get through a pack that has a lot of crowd control effects. That's just going to completely neuter your on-pull burst and leave you just completely screwed by a pack. You know, you're playing with a group of people, you have all of your CC that you can use, and you can combo that together to get through things smoothly. I think that's a really good idea. One thing that's certainly interesting is I did feel like this run, as you can see, is a challenge at item level 180. There's no question it's a challenge at that level. It's going to be a bit tough. That's why I'm recommending you do it with a group. It's just going to be more consistent and less stressful. But this is the hardest difficulty level of Torghast. And we're in gear that is Mythic 0 gear, right? You can get up to like Mythic level 15 gear, plus 15. You can get much better gear. You can get gear from the normal raid, from the heroic raid, from Mythic raid, which is going to be way more powerful. So that to me is the biggest question, is how is the Torghast difficulty going to scale? Because this, for the normal floors, this is as hard as it gets, right? These weekly runs, your two wings doing this is as tough as it gets, right? And it's doable. I think it is definitely doable week 1. You know, by week 4 or 5, we're going to be blasting through this stuff with really not too much stress. We have the same layers as well. We have the same difficulty level for the twisting corridors, which is, you know, your longer run, where it essentially is an 18 floor run. It takes 3 of these different wings, clumps them together in random, and then you play all the way through it. But what I'm wondering about is that, well, you definitely get stronger, I feel, generally speaking. On a Torghast run with reasonable luck, you're going to be stronger at the end of the run than you are at the start of the run. That's what I found across all these difficulties, is that typically speaking, it's the first couple of floors that are the hardest. And when you get on to the later floors, with your power starting to stack up, it becomes an awful lot easier. So I'm definitely curious to go in and test the Twisting Corridors run again. But from what I played of the Twisting Corridors before, with 18 floors, it's not more difficult than the 6 floor run. If anything, in some ways, it can even be easier. Why? Because with all the powers that you're building up, you just get more and more powerful. And those later floors, you're just absolutely destroying everything without much hassle at all. That's definitely something to consider. All right, what I want to do now is I just want to jump to the final boss. This is Warden Scaldus. There's actually a variety of bosses that you can fight here at the end of each different wing. And you're definitely going to want to learn what they do, because if you get hit by their abilities, you can be extremely screwed. And I'm going to show that to you here. But yeah, there was also an I-beam boss that was bugged, so the animation wouldn't play properly. Hopefully I put that clip for fun at the start of this, but here we go. We're pulling Warden Scaldus, Hulking Charge. This is one of the things. He stops, he casts that, he charges across. If you get hit by that, and I do get hit by it once, you're in serious trouble. It's absolutely going to rip you apart. You can see just his basic melee attacks are doing quite a bit of damage to me. Luckily, we're healing through that. Rat Traps, he throws a trap on the ground. Don't stand in it. Rats is the spell that he casts that puts a dot on you that starts doing some decent damage. Here's the Hulking Charge. You can see here that I think the Rat spell, I believe, actually slows you down. So I actually got hit by that one. I believe I was late pressing Dispersion there, and the only reason I probably survived was Mind Games, my Covenant ability, turning some of the damage he's going to do to me into healing instead. I think if I didn't have that on, that would have one-shot me. Kind of wishing I took the talent that gave me some movement speed to sidestep this stuff a little bit more cleanly, but there you go. We're fighting him. We popped a lot of defensive CDs. You can see that I've used nearly all of them, saving on here to Vampiric Embrace a little bit later, which you're popping it right now, and you can see that, wow, things getting very tight. That Vampiric Embrace, though, every bit of damage we're doing is really healing us up a lot. And it lasts a really long time as well, thanks to some of the anima powers I've picked up. So that's actually helping us to sort of stabilize here. I was trying to disorient him with my Covenant ability Teleport. It didn't really work. Mind Games comes back on, slap him with that. It's going to reduce some of the damage he does, but you can see he's actually getting fairly close. Sidestep the final Hulking Charge, and Warden Scaldus will go down to a Shadow Word Death, and that was our Layer 8 run completed. That was it. We did it. We were able to do it. Again, 180 item level, no legendary item, Venthyr Covenant, which is actually very helpful. There you go. You can see the character sheet. So very under-geared. Definitely doable week 1. And like I said, my general thoughts were that, okay, like for me, right? For me, I obviously play the game quite a lot. Not the best player in the world by any means, but hopefully pretty good, like a pretty decent player, pretty good player. And I would say that it's certainly a challenge, like especially the first couple of floors, it can be a real challenge. And there's definitely a sort of a stealth gameplay sort of feel to Torghast with this low level of gear, where actually just skipping past elites is a good idea. That you're not going to be able to fight them solo. They are going to murder you horribly, which is quite intriguing. At the same time, though, it's certainly doable, right? We're going in with this terrible gear, really under-geared character, and this is the max difficulty, and we're able to do it. It is doable. So I'm not really sure then where that leaves us. I think it's fine if the weekly stuff becomes pretty easy, and hey, you just spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes a week, just, you know, when you get your normal raid gear, you get your heroic raid gear or your mythic raid gear, and you blast through. You just blast through these weekly runs. But will the twisting corridors deliver? Will it scale up, right? And will it deliver the similar level of challenge? Like, I thought that this was a reasonably good challenge for the gear level. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge. But will the twisting corridors, will that scale up so that when I have mythic raid gear, I can keep scaling up the difficulty and be able to play the Torghast like this and have it be this harder, or even preferably be even harder, right? Preferably be even harder. Will it scale up with groups? I'm not sure, but let me know what you think. I'm curious how you found the difficulty. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. What we'll probably do actually next time, we'll probably try this out on like a healing spec. Maybe come in on a tank spec, try some other classes and see. Because I think Shadow Priest is probably pretty decent at this stuff. I'm curious what, you know, a typically stronger solo class could do, and also what a typically weaker solo spec could do. So let me know what you'd like to see, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.